All right, welcome to Mama Bear Diaries. When we get real fancy and technical, that's going to be my intro music that my oldest son put together. That was just off my phone. I wanted to hear how it sounded with this. I love that style. I think it's a great piece for this topic because it's a serious topic. Welcome to episode 1, where we're going to begin a series of a primer of sorts about serious mental illness. What is serious mental illness? I don't want to assume that everyone understands this. I didn't before my son became sick. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The first episode is going to be what is serious mental illness? And my name is Deborah Giesling, and this is part of the Mama Bear Diary series. I'm on Substack. I write, but now I'm moving into video, which is new for me, but thanks for going along on this ride. I appreciate it. Well, serious mental illness, or the acronym that's often used, is SMI. In our country, the prevalence is about 4 to 5% of the population is affected by a serious mental illness. That translates to approximately 14 million people. And those 14 million people have family members and they have friends that are affected as well. And that is the group of people that we believe are extremely marginalized in so many ways. Today, we're going to, at the end of each episode, I'm going to just tie in a policy kind of education piece to go along with it. And then hopefully, as time goes on, this is all going to kind of make sense and we can kind of paint the picture of the scope of the need. Even though it is a small percentage, it affects a huge percentage of our communities and our families. And so this is really important to us. And what is SMI? How do you explain that? So SMI typically includes people that have schizophrenia, bipolar disorder with psychotic features, typically schizoaffective disorder, which is a name that I despise. Whoever came up with that name, I want to punch them. That is a very disabling form of serious mental illness. It's somebody who experiences all the symptoms of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And then in general, again, this is just in general, it would include people that have major depression. And this is not seasonal depression that comes and goes maybe twice a year. You may experience it, and that I'm not trying to minimize the suffering of that, but this SMI would be someone who just cannot get out of bed for days or weeks on end, and it significantly impairs their ability to function every single day. And let's just kind of go back to schizophrenia. If you're not familiar with schizophrenia and your only education about it comes from Criminal Minds, or different shows that oh my goodness, paint a really negative picture, a portrait of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a brain disorder, and it causes people to live with hallucinations and delusions that could be visual, could be auditory. They could hear things that are not there. They believe things that are not true. Their thoughts, their reasoning is very disorganized. Their speech is disorganized. They're unable to really enjoy things. They may smell things that aren't there or smell things differently. They sometimes can't really determine whether it's cold or hot outside. They'll be confused. They may go outside on a very hot day that's cloudy and think, oh, it's cloudy, I need to wear a coat. Or they may be outside on a sunny day when it's freezing outside and think, I can just wear my shorts. So basic things that we take for granted, that we understand and can do every day, they really struggle with that. They struggle with that, and they can get so sick that they become extremely paranoid. They could be putting paper up on all the windows in the house or the mirrors. They think someone's looking and spying on them. They could be just acting bizarre and dressing bizarre. They stop taking care of themselves. It is a significant disability. Bipolar disorder, also they can experience they can experience very similar things, but they also have mania and depressive episodes that really impair their ability to keep a job, to maintain stable relationships. It's very difficult. So we're not talking about run-of-the-mill anxiety or disease or illnesses where you could just say, I need help. I need to make an appointment for, I've got a really bad stomach ache and I need to go in and make an appointment and get this taken care of. Those things are hard, but we're talking about life-changing um, disability. And so that's the group of people that we are focused on to like a laser, because for the most part, this group doesn't have a voice. Yet within this group of people that have been diagnosed formally with an SMI, and there is a process for that. I know there is in our state because the insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid, they recognize this category. And if you know someone who might be experiencing these things or you're thinking about that for yourself, be sure and get seen by a professional who is trained in assessing and diagnosing whether you have a serious mental illness or not. So that's really important. And I am not a doctor. I'm going to be talking in generalities. Do not rely on anything I say here. I'm not a clinician. I don't have a degree in any of this. As I said in my Zero podcast, I'm a mom. And that's why I'm here. I care about my son and I care about other people who are struggling this way. So let's get back to that spectrum. There is a spectrum. There are people that experience this to greater degree that, and maybe there's some that to a really good degree can function well, and they're able to have good relationships and they're able to have job, and that there's probably about 40 to 50% of people with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder who have something that's called anosognosia. Anosognosia is a lack of insight. It is not denial. It is not being stubborn. I just don't want to take my meds. They literally do not understand that they have a mental illness or that they need help. The brain, the reasoning center is not working, and it's they're not able to see that. Just think of somebody who has Alzheimer's. They are not going to wake up and say, I have Alzheimer's. I need to go to the doctor for my Alzheimer's. I need to take my medication for this. Someone else is advocating for them. Well, there's a group of people within the SMI category that are experiencing the same exact thing, and that makes getting treatment, support services, housing very difficult, very difficult. And the sad thing, though, is that for the most part, our system is set up for people who can advocate for themselves, who can make an appointment, can walk in, can remember, I need to go here, I need to, do this. That's how our system's set up. And if you can't do those things and you don't have an advocate, you're not going to make it. You're not. And we see the results of that in several corridors in our prisons and on our streets. And so I want to talk about what that looks like today, what that looks like right now. And so there was an organization called SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, that oversaw grant funding and oversaw policy for mental health and mental illness. That's what they were charged with. For the most part, they focused on mental health and mental wellness. When my son first got sick, I was searching for help. I was like going crazy looking for resources. They didn't even have schizophrenia and bipolar disorder listed on their website, and that was 15 years ago. And so over time, through grassroots efforts and through laws, they were pushed and made to focus on the seriously mentally ill. Instead of them being at the back of the line, we tried to push them to the front of the line. But recently, this actually just I think it was March 27th. Let me get this up here on my phone. With the restructuring that's happening right now in this administration, here we go. The White House released, and I just lost it. Let me pull that back up again. The White House just dissolved SAMHSA, which was it's really not a bad thing. I know it's kind of scary right now and things are changing very fast. So I can understand the fears, and we think, gosh, all this mental health funding is going to be cut. What's going to happen to all those people on the streets that have a mental illness? Which is a really good question. But you know what? I don't think it's going to have an impact at all on those people because they were largely ignored in the first place. So SAMHSA has been dissolved, and they're going to transfer all those responsibilities under a new administration called I think it's AHA, and I will pull it up right here. It's going to be transferred under HHS. They're going to streamline everything, and in the hopes of being more efficient and not having all these duplicative efforts going on and wasting money. Let's see, it's called the Administration for a Healthy America, and it's going to be moved under there, and I actually think it's going to be a good thing. I really do. Let's see here. I wanted to read this part. Yeah, it's going to be moved underneath there to, here we go. Here's some specifics of the plan. The creation of the Administration for a Healthy America, which will combine multiple agencies: the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health, Health Resources and Services Administration, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health into a new unified entity. Now, how can you not agree that all those organizations need to be streamlined and brought together? And so my hope is that there will be a refocus and a reset on the seriously mentally ill, and they will move them up to the front of the line where they need to be, truly. And I'm going to link in the comments at all these episodes. I love to interact with people. So if you have questions, comments, I would love to interact with that. I'm certainly not going to cover everything and cover every single point, but you will start to pick up over these primers that our focus is on the severely mentally ill. And here's a quote from DJ Jaffe's book, Insane Consequences: How the Mental Health Industry Fails the Mentally Ill, which I highly recommend. DJ was a great friend of mine and mentor. Sadly, he is no longer with us, but he left us with a great encyclopedia, actually. His website, mentalillnesspolicy.org, and then his book, this book that I'm going to read from, on chapter 16 and the solutions. This is a great opening paragraph to explain the problem. The problems are fixable, he says, and I agree. And solving them is affordable. However, we need politicians willing to base policy on science rather than on mythology spread by the mental health industry and its advocates. We must target resources on people most likely, not least likely, to become tragedies. Congress and state legislators must be made to understand that throwing money at mental health is not the same as delivering treatment to people with serious mental illness. I could not agree more with all of this. And so that's a great book. If you're interested in policy, our focus in our organization is really no longer policy, but just helping people to thrive and flourish and live with support in a way that just brings them dignity, which they deserve. So stay tuned here to Mama Bear Diaries. I'll play the outro. I know you're dying to hear it, which is different than the intro that my son made. He's a fantastic guitarist. I'm kind of biased, but let's see if I can find this. Here we go. This is going to be my outro. And then I got a little message for my third son when I'm done with this. So take a listen. And my dear brown eyes, this is all for you. I love you, Seth.